probably some other guys from the league that nobody cares about.
Welcome back to the Circle of Jerks podcast. You're listening to a special edition Circle of Jerks. It's our awards. It's our awards preview. Jeremy deciding to crunch directly into the mic. It's still Cinco de Mayo. We're doing 3 podcasts in one night, so I apologize in advance for how deteriorated all of our commentary has become. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about the different awards of the season. You'll be listening to this probably a day before, or well, whenever you want to listen to it, but it's going to be released a day before Week 10. And just a reminder that the awards are voted on based on the regular season only. So we'll open up the voting whenever we work with folks and figure out how we're going to do voting. Probably on the day of Week 10 and maybe shortly thereafter, and we'll probably close the voting within maybe a week or so of that, so probably right around the playoffs starting. So we have 7 different awards that are voted on and one that is nominated based on people that have won it in the past. We have Rookie of the Year or Season, Goaltender of the Season, Get Nutty, Most Improved, Captain, Defenseman, and MVP. Are we still doing the other awards of like Best in Show or anything like that?
Sure. Those are kind of novelty. They're not really.
All right. So we might have some novelty awards in there too, but these are the ones that actually matter. These are the ones that are fun to actually talk about. So we're going to go through each one, and I'm going to list out who was nominated on the Facebook comments. So by the way, the Facebook comments actually matter. Unlike our opinions, the Facebook comments matter, and so the only ones that will be up for voting are those that were nominated on Facebook. So the Rookie of the Season award is kind of self-explanatory. There's only 2 rookies. It's either Austin Bull playing for the Roots or Steve Schultz playing for Sugar Hill Gang. So we're going to go around the table here. You got the Bob Hartman, next to Petar Lundstedt, Jer Bear Bonet, the Commish, John Chattergoon, and hashtag Conco Sucks. Kurt had to leave for some Civil War reenactment thing. So, Rookie of the Year, I got to go Austin Bull. I mean, no offense to Steve. He's improving in the last few weeks, but Austin has been a phenom, potential first-round pick in the next season. And for a rookie, that says a lot.
Best hands, I top 3 hands easily in the league. He doesn't shoot enough. He would be easily a top 3 or 4 scorer. This guy is going to be a top pick. I don't think there's any chance that anyone else gets it.
I'm going to go Austin too, especially after the haircut after he graduated high school.
Seen your pictures. Have you seen them?
Why you gotta make shit creepy?
I'm head of the Steve Schultz fan club, but I'm going Austin because he is on a team known for scoring, and he scores a lot.
I'm going to go Austin as well. I mean, I hate to do this to my own goalie. I feel like if he played at the level he's playing over the past few games from the beginning, then
good point.
He definitely, maybe the nod for it. The issue is at goalie, any rookie goalie is at a disadvantage because of the work.
I don't think a rookie goalie has ever won Rookie of the Year.
Not true. Jesse did.
Oh,
Did he?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
yeah.
No, did he win goalie of the year?
Goalie of the year.
But not rookie.
Oh, yeah, my bad. Because it was Joe Gant and Jesse.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so there
But
you
he
go.
was a rookie
No
that won goalie
rookie
of the year.
has ever won. No rookie goalie has ever won Rookie of the Season.
It's a huge transition, even if you've played hockey
did win
before.
goalie of the year, that's
Coming to this league and learning that you should cover instead of play the puck is a huge thing.
All right. Well,
Stuff.
that one's a relatively easy one because you only have 2 choices. But let's move on to Goalie of the Season. The nominees are Brett Siebert, Tim Scott, Bill Rylick, and Alex Packard. Personally, my pick has got to be Brett. I just think statistically he's in a league of his own. He's dominating games. Last week was an anomaly, but it was an anomaly even though he still registered a respectable save percentage. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't good, but it wasn't terrible. I gotta go Brett.
And I think the crazy part about it is you're looking at in a league where offense is helping a lot and it's not such a great year for goaltenders. A Tribe Called Quest has 69 goals against. The next closest is 90.
Yeah. And
90.
Brett's got 2 full points on the save percentage ahead of this
Unbelievable.
next closest.
Unbelievable. I don't think there's anyone in question. I think the rest of the guys are having a good year comparatively to seasons past. And I think if any other goaltenders came back for this year, they would have a difficult year. I mean, you can just ask Kakko. I mean, Kakko, hasn't been a great year for you.
Nope.
Who was your pick for it?
You know, this one's kind of tough because so much goes into this other than the goalie themselves. It's kind of hard
Sure,
to
great
gauge.
point. Great point.
It's hard to gauge their talent when you have, if you have a porous defense. I mean, that goalie's going to look like shit, even though he has a ton of talent.
What are you trying to say?
I don't know.
The Roots have terrible defense.
Oh,
But with all that being said, I have to give this to Brett because he's made some insane saves. He's
without recognition, by the way.
Yep. Yeah, I know, Jeremy.
He should speak up.
But I'm going to have to go with Brad on this one just because you could actually see his talent and his team helps him to play great defense, but he's bailed them out so many times.
I feel bad for Alex Packard coming out the way that he has this season, only to have Brett have like a career season. So I'm going with Brett, but any other season, Alex Packard is tearing it up.
Right now, it's Brett's award to lose. I feel like
Yeah, week 10 could
this week
put
10
chicken in
matchup,
armor.
especially against Alex.
Week 9 wasn't great for him.
No, and if Brett has another game similar to week 9 in this week 10 matchup, and Alex plays out of his mind, I feel like Alex could steal this award because this is going to be the matchup that's the freshest in people's memories when it comes to voting. So,
And they're playing against each other.
and
Thanks
yeah,
for more
exactly.
pressure.
No pressure, Brett.
But again, like I said, it right now it's Brett's award to lose at this point.
So
Bring it up
that's a good point. Who would be your second choice if Brett, let's say, falls apart next week? Who's your number 2, guys?
To me, it's still Tim. I think Tim was one of the biggest reasons that
one of the biggest goalies.
Yeah, that
That's
Furious
what she
5 has
said.
been able. That Furious 5
Talking
has
about
been able
pads,
to
not
turn
talking about the
around.
size.
Yeah, but he's blocking so much in the net. People are having frustrations with him. I mean, you're talking about the guy who's up for Rookie of the Year, Austin, having 1 goal against him, where he's scored so many goals against every other goalie in the league. To me, Tim is the second best. I think Alex is having a great season, but I think Tim is still my number 2.
Anyone disagree with that?
Tim has probably the best mental game for a goalie.
True. He doesn't.
He has the
get
most
smart.
knowledge.
He doesn't
yeah.
get angry. Maybe he's.
Oh, I don't think he's ever lost his cool this
The,
season.
I feel like it still plays into what's freshest in people's mind, and the fact
Yeah.
that he's been out 2 weeks
Yeah,
really
good point.
hurts
Yeah, you can't win
chances.
goalie of the
he won
season
MVP.
and lose.
And he had a slow start.
With all these goalies, Tim's got the best, overall game as far as the positioning, and I think he has been so consistent with the way he's played over the past few seasons. You always know what you're going to get from him. With Bill, he's got great hands. He doesn't move as much, but he still has the ability to just steal pucks out of the air. And Alex, I think out of all of them, he would be my second runner-up, closely behind Brett, because he may not be the biggest, and he has the athleticism to kind of make up for, not being in position as much as, say, Brett or Tim. And I think, he does have the talent, but he's just missing a few small minor things.
If Alex goes as the 4th goalie in the draft next season with the floor players pick, he's going to be a steal.
Yep.
Because honestly, if I have to go for a runner-up this season, I have to go probably Tim Scott. But it's just, Alex is just so much on the up and up, and I think it's a testament to Alex to talk about him in terms of was he most improved last season, and now we're talking about him as goalie of the season. Just to be in the conversation, I think is a huge testament to him. And I said in the recap how much Wu-Tang Clan relies on him, probably too much so. I think a lot of our success has been based on Alex, but he's up against some stiff competition. Brett and Tim have been in the league a long time, and they know how to play the game.
I feel like the underrated stat in this scenario is your overtime wins.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
good
He
point.
holds his own.
When the pressure's on, who steps up?
And how old is Alex? 21 years
21.
old. And what is this,
like
about his
14?
4th season in the league?
Third or
He's
fourth.
literally
He's just
grown
a
up
year
in this
older
league.
than. He's just a year older.
Yeah, literally grown up in this league. I like that. All right, so Get Nutty. The nominees based on the Facebook posts or comments were Brad, Kurt, Dan Gladding,
Dang.
Dang.
Oh, I don't know why I'm the only one that says his last name. He's only, no other Dan right now. Dave Fos and Petar. I'm gonna go Petar. I am. And I'm not doing that just because he's next to me.
He shot himself in the leg.
No, we're talking Petar Lundstedt.
Oh yeah, that Pete.
Yeah, that Pete.
I shot myself in the leg a lot.
Yeah, well, he shoots himself in the foot quite often, running his mouth. And okay, listen,
Foot and mouth disease.
Kurt is a perennial pick. I think it's almost unfair that Kurt gets nominated for it again because he's always picked for it.
It's not necessarily nutty what he does.
No,
it's just the way
that's
he plays.
Kurt. That's
Yeah.
Kurt being Kurt. Brad, I get it. Especially after last week, I get the nuttiness factor. He's got that kind of like mocking laugh he does to people, and he plays with his body a lot. But
He
that's
plays with his body.
you know what I mean.
And then he comes to hockey.
But I thought Petar had an uncharacteristically nutty season. Like, I've never seen Pete this nutty before, and he's getting in refs' faces. He's arguing every call. If Jeremy had a second nomination, I would totally be touting Jeremy for face washing a ref right now, but nobody else seems to believe in that. So
Apparently, according to our rules, that's a game. So-
yeah, according to the rules that are going to be published pretty soon, Jeremy should be suspended a game. So I got to go Petar though because I think he's uncharacteristically nutty.
So
this
pretty
season.
much you're calling me a dick. That's what you're calling me.
I wasn't, but if you're going to force me to, yes. You're
Yeah,
being a
we
dick.
talked about it last
The
time.
Get Nutty Award isn't the being a dick award. I just think you're kind
I've
of
been a
nutty.
dick.
You're
I've-
also
I've
being
been
a
a
dick.
dick.
You would win that award hands down.
if there was a you're a dick award this
Oh,
season,
hands down.
Oh, hands
Unanimous
down.
number
I
one.
would win. It's such a different season, but you got great nominations. I mean, this is the first season that the commission was able to kind of waive the hey, listen, you've won the award 3 times for Cannonball Kurt Get Nutty Award or the John Chatterton Defensive Player of the Year or the Goalie of the Year, which was both Conco and Marfione. This is the first year that everyone's up for it, so that's the exciting part about it. But to me, I got to go Gladding. He's my teammate, and this guy got hit twice in the first game. This guy gets hit every single week. The commish, you've heard himself say, I am so scared when this guy goes down. I fear for myself when this guy goes down. Gladding is the craziest player in this league, getting down and just always taking shots in the face or the throat or wherever he goes. So he's my pick for Get Nutty.
I'm also going Gladding because a couple more shots and his face is going to resemble a shelled walnut.
I'm gonna go with Foes just because of that primal freaking scream. Oh my god, it's glorious. And then there's other times where he just there'll be a scrum in front of my net, and then all of a sudden I just see Foes come sliding in and just knock the puck away and just get it out of the zone and save my ass.
He's still a goalie. He's still a goalie at heart.
There were a couple times where he went down and was blocking shots for me.
Yeah, I think he's 3 for 3 on
Yeah.
saves.
Chatterton?
I would go Jeremy for the nuttiest moment. That whole
He's
not
not in.
I don't care. I'm putting him in. That whole 10
Well,
minute.
you didn't second my nomination. He could have been in this conversation.
I don't have time for Facebook.
He's
That
a
whole
commish. He's
10
busy.
minute. Actually, I should go the entire Sugar Hill gang. Other than Gianni and Schultz at the time, because of that interaction.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. That was pretty
If the
rough.
refs had a vote, they would probably say Jerry Wagner. I think he
Yeah.
he goes against every call.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you, that 10-minute span, I was ready to effort right in the pussy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you censored that one word.
Kurt's consistent.
Yeah. Spoil- Too late. All right. So most improved, we've got 5 candidates based on your Facebook comments: John Strachan, Dave Fose, Matt Galuli, Andy Galvin, John Ramsey. I gotta go Strachan. Strachan had the most nominations out of anyone, and I have to agree. I feel bad for Ramsey because I think he's having a career season. I think he wins most improved any other season that Strachan doesn't have 73 and a half nicknames that we've come up with because he's been so unbelievably impressive this season.
But the thing is that I do think Ramsey's having a great time, but he's got one player on the floor that brings out the best of all of the players, and that's Zach. I mean, you're looking at the last spring where Zach had where Zach had Kenton on his team, and he brought him to the championship game. That's what Zach does, and that's why I do think Ramsey is great. But the fact of the matter is, it's Strack. This is Strack. Everyone loves Strack. Everyone loves all of the great nicknames that we've been putting toward him. I have to go Strack for this.
Back to Strack.
Yep. Back to back Strack.
You know, this is a tough one between Matt and Andy for me because I think Matt's been putting up the points
Yes, he's been
and making
Right, Galooly.
really contributing to his team's success.
Pringle.
And then also Andy too. Like, not a lot of people notice like the points that he's been putting up. He had the one game with 6.
I wish he was here all season, man. Oh my
Andy,
God.
Andy is scoring 4 points per game
And-
and 3.2 goals per game.
And even besides that, like
Not
his
this week.
relentlessness, like attacking and forechecking on defense. There was times last game where the puck got dumped down, and then our guy would have it, and all of a sudden Andy was there and just stole it away from him.
Yeah,
Or
he's
forced him to just dump it down and get rid of it for a turnover.
He's 11th best in the league in goals per game.
So I'm gonna vote for Andy.
Strack.
Back to Strack.
I feel like the team that he's on helps him showcase his natural talents, and he owns the front of the net.
Yeah. Jeremy?
I mean, the choice at this point on that pool, it sucks for a lot of the other guys because of the season and who's up for it. But it's got to be Stracklemore and Ryan Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, though, Jeremy. It does suck for a guy like Andy, who's a third-round pick and is in 11th overall in points per game and 11th overall in goals
Damn.
per game. I mean, but
And he missed games too.
and he did, and well, that's why it's points per game and
Oh yeah. Yeah.
goals per game. But this is most improved, and I've never seen Strachan the way I've seen him.
Watch out for Foes to get another season on the floor under his belt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and Foss is competing for this award based on week 1 to week 10.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, these other guys are competing for seasons past.
Unless you think he's a better floor player than he was a goalie.
And then I think you're wrong.
Yeah.
Captain of the season, 3 nominees that kept popping up here: Alex, Brett, and Tim. And as I said in my write-up, it's kind of hard with captain because you don't know what's going on between Thursday and Tuesday. You only can see what's happening on Wednesday unless you're on the person's team. And so with that caveat in place, I'm going Alex all the way, and I think it's a no-brainer because, I think he's an incredible captain, but I'm on his team. And I just think that he's a vocal leader out there. He's picked a great team. We're competing for number 1 overall, and it's a team that not everyone thought was going to be all that great going into the season, you know, looking at the composition, but he picked guys who are going to show up. And this team has showed up 8 out of the 9 weeks. We've had a full team, 8 out of 9 weeks, and we had all 5 floor players 9 out of 9 weeks. We only missed actually Alex himself 1 week.
And he was there. He just was hurt.
And he was there. He still showed up, even though he was missing. Gaffey won goal or captain of the year that season. That he had he tore an ACL or something. I don't remember what it was.
Hurt his
But
ankle.
hurt
Sprained his ankle.
Yeah, but he was on the bench for 3 weeks in a row. He couldn't play, but he still showed up. Yep. And Alex shows up. So really, the whole team has been there in person all 9 weeks. Only team in the league that can say that. A lot of commitment. I think it's a no-brainer for me. It's Wu-Tang Clan.
And it's not it's a no-brainer for me as well because I think Alex definitely picked a great team. It's very strong throughout, but you have Tim who picked Paul, and it's pretty much been Paul and him, and that's the reason that they've gone on. But to me, it's Brett. It's a no-brainer pick.
But does Brett talk? Does he lead his
No,
team? Does he lead his team on the
Right,
floor?
but
Alex
he
is
picked
vocal.
He picked a team that, hands down, I don't think anyone else thought that they would be the number 1
I
team
did.
in the city.
I actually picked them number 1 preseason.
And I picked them as the number 8th seed.
So you were wrong, but just because you were wrong doesn't mean he's captain of the year.
But obviously, Pete R knows what he's doing, and he doesn't know what he's doing, and that's why
With the
Brett
refs.
is the reason. Yeah, well, of course, the refs don't know what they're doing at any point in life. So I think Brett takes the cake because the team that he's put together is number 1 in the league. They're playing for number 1 next week. It's going to come down to Alex or Brett, but to me, I think it's Brett, hands down.
But captain of the year doesn't just come down to who's the number 1 team. It helps. But it
Yeah,
doesn't
but-
just come down to that.
Right, I understand that, but the fact of the matter is Brett picked a team from the 8th spot. I mean, he was the last person to select a position. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he was the last person to select a position. So he had to deal with what was given to him, and he picked a team that is number 1 in the league right now.
I think he had the best draft in that regard. I absolutely agree, but I just think Alex is a better
Well,
owner.
Alex got a chance to pick Joe. I mean, Alex got a chance to pick Joe, and Joe is leading that team. Brett
And he
is.
paired John with Joe, and he picked Kyle. He picked Kyle higher
Yeah,
than.
but look
All
at
right.
Brett though.
Yeah,
look
but
at Brett. Brett has picked a team that the 3rd and 4th and 5th round pick is the one that's stepping up the most.
Brett picked the best available at every spot.
Absolutely.
I think
so
Kyle,
isn't that
but,
the reason that he
But
gets
I
it?
think Kyle didn't. I think Kyle picked Kyle. Or I'm sorry, Kyle.
Kyle does pick Kyle. Kyle picks the shit out of Kyle.
I think Alex picked Kyle higher than he should have, and I think he picked me higher than he should have. No, all right. So he picked me higher than he should have. He picked Kyle higher than he should have because he thought we fit into the system. There were better players than Kyle available. There were better players than me available, but he picked us at the best the best fit and the best who are going to show
Right,
up.
and the
and
3rd and
that's showing
4th
up.
round, 3rd, 4th, and 5th round picks are beating you
Well,
guys.
fifth is no pick. Fifth was lottery.
No, 5th is always great.
I,
All right.
here's where I'm
Bob
gonna
and I'll stop.
Here's where I'm going to disagree with you, Pete. When you're
It's
when you're
hard.
the 8th pick in a snake draft is like one of the highly coveted picks in the
Yeah.
draft.
Yeah.
You want the 8th pick because you get the wraparound, meaning you get 2 similar talented guys.
What does that mean?
Yeah, it's like John and me in spring
Circle
2015.
Yeah.
Wrap around.
Wraparound, circle of jerks, rusty trombones, all that. So
Hot Conco's.
with
No saran wrap.
Brett's pick, it's easy to say that he picked the people that were best at their position available at the time, looking at the seasons that they had. Who the fuck looked at John Strachan at the beginning of the season thinking that he was going to off like he did? Or guys like
I
Pat
did.
Kuznow stepping up and having big games like he did. And Kurt, producing the way that he does with his goose eggs.
Bowling balls.
Bowling ball, sorry. Like I said, it's easy when after you see the picks to be like, oh yeah, this was such a great pick at this time, but it could have fucking backfired. He could have picked me, and then just got the production that I've had this
Yeah,
season.
but is there any other team that's better than as far as chemistry is concerned than
Wu-Tang Clan, and we're going to show that next week.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
If this award was called the
Wait,
best,
so I'm sorry. So, Jeremy, who are you picking? Are you
Alex.
picking Brett? Or are you picking Alex? Okay.
I disagree.
if this award was called the best draft award, then Brett would probably
Sure.
have the upper hand. And some people will look at it that way, Pete. That's why you're not wrong.
No, I'm right.
If
But
this-
you're wrong because it's not the
Because
best
you
draft
guys are
award.
all refs, and of course I'm right.
If this award was called the most motivating captain in the league, Conco would probably have a good choice.
Yeah, he's
Be
pretty
a good
motivated.
choice
Yeah,
for that.
yeah. I
He
would
actually
pick-
claps for people who score on him.
But
Oh,
you're
man.
looking for the best overall captain, the
Even
person who drafted a really good team, is playing really well, and is a great vocal leader,
And shows up.
and shows up
Steve
every
Schultz.
time.
so
Steve
was
Schultz.
Brett.
Steve missed
But
a couple
and
games.
that's hey, I don't hear Brett. I don't see Brett's motivation.
Yeah,
I don't
because he
know.
doesn't talk.
He'll bring
Well,
the
then
fucking
what do you-
gym down.
Then how are you going to motivate him?
Jim down
How are you going to motivate him if he can't talk and he doesn't do sign language?
because he stares.
Emails.
He stares.
So bottom line, I'm going Tim. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going. Tim Scott's a very good motivator too, but
He motivates other people to score on him.
yeah, that's true.
He picks his own teammate to get a penalty.
I'm going Alex. But
Yeah.
some people will look at it the way the Pete's looking at
No,
it.
That's
So
the
you're
way
we're
they
not
should look
wrong.
at it.
You're not wrong to look at it that way.
No,
That's
I'm
why we're
right.
having this debate because it's good to have the open discourse out there before people vote.
Yeah,
I'm not saying Brett's a bad captain.
No, Brett's a great
I
captain.
feel like
Conco, speak up like a
he
captain.
picked players that ended up working out for him as the season progressed.
All right, Conco,
I'm gonna
a guy who wasn't nominated for this award.
go with Alex. Now with Brett, it was like basically like a toss up.
Brett beat
But the
fucking
thing
me
that
next week.
puts me over the edge with Alex is that the fact that he is more of a motivator.
I'm sure
son
he's,
of a bitch.
he's only
Motorboat.
21. He's probably really good. Like
At motorboat,
he's probably got like that
Comfort of
energy. He's like,
there's age requirements to motorboat.
I think men are at their sexual peak really young or something like that.
Son of a bitch.
So I think he's more of a vocal leader.
Do you think they're built for comfort or for pleasure? Or for speed?
For speed. For speed.
For speed or for comfort?
Brett
The old
picked a,
tailor you.
Brett picked a team that fits him perfectly, as far as Furlano and Jeff Burge mainly defense. I didn't agree with the bottom three when he was picking them. Well, I would have drafted him if I did.
Good point.
Yeah, that's
was
true.
But you know
right
what?
in front of him.
But you know what? I mean, it's working out for him. But I think Alex picked a better overall team, and he's able to motivate his team better. And yeah,
We'll see next week.
Yeah, quick.
We'll see.
Quick announcement: between games, we're gonna have a 5-minute mini game between Conco's bottom three and Brett's bottom three.
Bring it.
Let's do it. I want to see it.
I want
do
to see that
too.
too. Do they play back to back? Can we do that?
Well, I gotta look at the
Base strack to
schedule. I
strack?
didn't look at it. Yeah, strack to strack.
Strike to track. We'll post in the comments if we can make that happen.
Chances are no.
Let's do it.
Defenseman of the season. We had a lot of nominees for this. The only nominees that received multiple votes or multiple nominations were Jeff Burge, Steve Newberry, Paul Paradine, Mike Furlano, and Tim Anderson did get two, I believe, two suggestions on that. Tim Anderson was going to be a snub in this because I didn't think he was going to make the cut. Him and Kevin Baldwin are both kind of snubs in this, like, because I mean they're the perennial defensemen. Sorry, it's a men's league, and John Chatterton, the award's named after you, and nobody nominated you, even though it was opened up.
I changed my game
Yeah,
many
you're scoring
seasons,
a shit ton of
seasons
goals.
ago.
You're scoring a ton.
I'd rather play an all around.
So, I mean, Jeff and Furlano, both from A Tribe Called Quest here. Paul, who's also an MVP candidate, spoiler alert, also is the defenseman. And then you got Newberry. I mean, as a pure defenseman, I would go Newberry. But I'm going to go Burge on my vote because I think he's a better all-around player. And, Jeremy, I think you made the point earlier, like a few weeks ago. Okay, great. So you can stop the guy, but then can you possess the puck and not lose it? And Newberry's not susceptible to losing it. I'm not saying that. But Jeff can then steal the puck, play good defense, turn around and immediately score. And I think I want that in a defenseman.
Take
So I
the
would-
puck, bring it to your zone, possess it, and set up somebody else who can score.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's Jeff Burge.
The biggest question with Newberry is he's a great defender, and he can control the puck, he holds the puck, but he's got that Jeremy Bamer syndrome where he's just habitually head down in the corner. I'm just going to throw
Yeah,
this shit at the
yeah.
middle, and hopefully it sticks.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't always see his teammates. If Newberry wins this award, I'll be very happy for him, and I'll think it's a good award. But my vote's for Jeff Burge.
Bob, I'm right there with you. I think, and I've promoted Steve all season long. He needs to be playing the number one guy on every team that he plays against.
Shutdown. He's like a shutdown corner.
Hands down. And I think Conco, you've definitely been making that happen because he's been slowing down every top player against them. But oh my gosh, Jeff is just incredible.
He's
this
like
guy.
Richard Sherman, though. Like, I mean, Newberry's like Richard Sherman, but how many corners have won MVP or Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah, and
They
I
don't
think
win it.
Steve is on
Yeah.
his way to that point.
Revis.
Steve just
Revis.
needs to have a little bit more control over it. I think this definitely goes to
crazy.
Jeff Burge. He is my pick to win the Defenseman of the Award. But I got to throw it over to Conco. Conco, Steve is on your team. Do you think he has a
Newberry's
shot
so
to win the
good.
award?
Alright,
He's kind of
here we
Revis
go.
Island, but
All
Newberry
right,
Island.
I'm gonna give Jeff Burge credit here. I don't know if any of you
Yeah,
guys
we
are
already
Sabres
did.
fans, but he is just like Mark Pysyk, and I know he's like his favorite player. Has one of his.
Can we
jerseys.
talk about like the real hockey league?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
I am right
Penguins
now,
beating
the-
the Capitals last night.
Yeah, that was a good
Boom.
game. But the
Anyways.
real hockey league is the Rochester.
Jeff Burge is the type of guy, the type of defenseman that's really quiet behind. You don't
Kind of like
notice
Brett,
him. You don't
who's the
notice,
best captain.
All right, let it go.
You don't notice him right off the bat, but his play is so smooth, and he sets up plays. He's a smooth passer, good passer. He knows the game and everything. But with that being said, we're talking. I interpret this as defense. The defenseman.
That's the award.
Yeah, defense.
Oh.
So
I
I'm not
missed
going offensive characteristics in this.
Nice.
So that's why I'm picking Steve, because every week we pick out a guy, their top guy on the other team, and I say, Steve, just shut him down. All you got to worry about all game is just him. Yeah. And that's what he does, and he does it so
And
well.
he's good at it. He is
He
good
does
at
it
it.
so
You're
well.
right.
He's so frustrating to people, and just a big pain in the ass.
But I'd rather pick a J.J. Watt who strip sacks the quarterback and takes it for a touchdown.
But as far as defense, I'm going with Steve on this, and he makes some awesome balls. I've had his balls in my mouth before. They are delicious. You guys should try them next time he makes them.
I'm not sure where we're going here. Jeremy or John, do you want to save us?
Well, on the subject of Newberry's balls, I told you that it just felt right the last time I had them in my mouth. So, but to go to the shutdown corner analogy, like yes, that's Newberry, but Jeff Burridge is more Deion Sanders. Like not only is he a shutdown corner, but he's gonna take that shit back at you to the house and score a touchdown. Prime time, and he might even do the dance or point.
That was Burge.
No.
It's Burge.
Well, he doesn't do the dance unless it's against Zach Davis, and then he might. And
I
then
was
he might
tempted
point
to
at
point
the
after I
point at the
scored in the
goalie.
game, but I didn't. It's too early. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I feel like the obvious choice is Burridge. I kind of built that up a little bit in the beginning.
No, you nailed it.
I would say
No,
that
I
it's
think it was good.
probably his
Los Pollos?
award to lose.
Taking away the offense, I feel like Burge and Paul are really close.
Yeah,
They're
no
like
one's
the
talking
Giving
about
it to
Paul.
Jeremy.
They're the same player. Essentially, in the defensive zone, they're the same player. I'm going to give the edge to Paul.
Yeah.
Because he wins every battle.
Yeah,
And
Paul-
even if he
Paul
loses
does.
the battle, he's taking it immediately from you.
Yeah.
And you're not getting a pass across. He's always in the right spot defensively.
It'll block
And
your
then
shot,
after
too.
he intercepts your shot, he's going to win MVP and score on you.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing about Paul is his defense is
No, he's not, but
underrated.
he's going to try.
His defense is underrated because his offense is so regularly rated. Like everyone's always talking about his offense because it's so good. They forget that he breaks up every single pass across the middle. I've never seen a pass get by across the middle.
And that's
He's
not
back.
taking anything from Burge. This is really close. I'm giving it to Paul. Just watch this next game when he's in a one-on-one battle, unless it's Zach. If it's anybody else but Zach, it's almost a guarantee Paul's going to
You know, I think he's playing Zach this week.
Well, I'm saying in this game,
Look at that.
if it's not a one-on-one
Better
with
show up.
Zach,
You
6:30.
scheduled this. You scheduled this, didn't you?
if it's not a one-on-one battle with Zach in the corner or on the wall, Paul's almost every time going to come out with the puck.
6:30.
Yeah.
Be there.
It's the game of the
Free,
week.
free.
Plus,
Free
the
tickets.
second game is the game
And
of the
nobody
week, too.
talked about
And the
Furlano or
and the
Tim
third.
Anderson. I mean, they're great defensemen, but I mean, you going up against Jeff, Stephen, Paul, it's tough.
If you're going to be a good defenseman, you can't apologize so much.
no,
No.
sorry. Sorry.
Sorry. Tim doesn't
All right.
apologize.
So the last award that we're going to talk about in this podcast, MVP, most valuable player. And so just for level setting here, to me, valuable doesn't mean the best player. We have an awards title or a points total or whatever it is for whoever scores the most points. But this is the most valuable to their team.
Is it the most points or is it the most goals?
It's points.
It's
It's
points.
scoring title.
Scoring title is for point
Yep.
Yeah.
points, I think. All right.
Because I'm thinking, is it the Rocket Richard trophy in the NHL or is it just overall points? So it's
Points.
overall points.
Overall points. So Joe Gant, Paul Paradine, Zach Davis, and the first goalie that might have a shot at winning it, Brett Siebert, for the MVP. I'll start again because I like to hear myself talk, and I've been starting every other time.
I like to hear you talk to.
I'm going Joe Gant. It's my second homer pick of the night after Alex Packard. But I can't go Brett because he had an off night and they still won. He had a bad night and they still won. And he has two guys on his team that are nominated for Defenseman of the Season. So you're a goalie and you've got two guys on your team that are in contention for the Defenseman Award. I just think Joe is playing lights out. He's got two guys in the bottom 5 of points per game. Myself and Steve Kazmark are in 4th and 5th in the bottom 5 on points per game. And Joe has 71 points, which is the most of anyone in the league, and 45 goals, which is the third most of anyone in the league. And he scores, he causes issues, and Chatterton has 32 goals because of the attention put on Joe. I just think it's Joe's award to lose.
Right, but I think you just made a point to yourself is that how many times has John scored more than 5+ goals a game?
But how many people are paying attention to John? No offense, John, but he's scoring those goals because he's wide open. Because Joe's drawing defenders and double teams. Steve Newberry is watching Joe.
Well, we're looking at the overtime game against the Roots. No one was looking at Joe. I was watching John hands down, and he puts
How'd
a
that
shot
work
through
for
my
you?
leg. It did not work well for me. So that's why I'm saying that I
Because Joe
don't think-
passed it to him.
So you're saying
No,
John
no,
Chatterton
John
MVP?
John had it to himself. John had it to
Joe gave
himself.
him a clean pass in that game.
No, it wasn't
No,
like a
I
one-timer.
think
John had it to
that
himself and
it was
put
a
it through
loose
my
puck.
legs.
Oh, was
there
it?
was a
Yeah.
couple times where, yeah.
All right, so I was wrong on that one.
I had another
But
one of
the
those
fact of
last
the matter
night.
is John is right there with Joe especially in the last 5 games. He's had 6 goals, he's had 7 goals, he's had 5 goals. He's had so many goals right up there with him. The fact of the matter is Brett has been the dominant factor of why his team has been to
He's
the top
the
of the
best
league.
goalie. He's the best by 2%.
Hands down.
But he has 2 guys in his team that are defenseman candidates.
I feel like you could substitute Brett with another goalie and that team would still win.
Okay,
That team is
name another
amazing
goalie.
top to bottom. Tim Scott. Alex Packard.
Bill Rylick, Alex, Steve.
Okay, so who would you replace on Joe on your team and that you guys would still be that good? Would you
Zach.
throw Zach on there?
Yeah, Zach.
Yeah.
Zach or Paul.
Zach or Paul, absolutely. So it's the same situation that you're talking about with
Different. I
Brett.
don't think if
But
you
it's
put,
different to
even
have
if
a
you put
number
Paul
one-
on that team, I don't think
Paul's
Paul is having
different,
the
but
effect that
Zach-
Joe is
No.
going to have on that team.
Yeah,
How?
Paul's
because
gonna
Joe
do it by
has
himself.
because Joe's the
Right,
number
so
one.
Paul's going to do it by himself, and the same thing.
No, because Joe's the number one in points. He's third in goals, but he's the number one in points because he's assisting. So you can't replace Paul with him necessarily. No offense to Paul, but I'm just saying that Joe's playing the team game. He's looking for me, this guy who's 5th in the league in points per game, or 5th from the bottom in points per game. I see him making eye contact with me, looking to see where I am on the court. Joe is possessing it. He's seeing it. He's scoring quick goals. It's why Wu-Tang Clan is where we are.
Joe looks
You're
at
going
me
Brett.
too, Bob.
I'm absolutely going Brett. I just don't think that anyone's anywhere near as far as goalies are concerned. When goalies are having such a difficult part this year, he had a bad game this past week, but this was the first bad game that he had, and he's been the reason that this team has been so dominant. When you're looking at the stats, this guy has been so dominant. You're looking at 69 to 90, 69 to 90. Yes, I understand he has 2 guys that are up for the defensive of the year, but you're talking about 21 goal difference between the first and second place in goals against. This guy has been the difference maker. There's no reason to give it to anybody else. Yes, Joe is great, but the fact of the matter is 21 goals against is completely different than Joe having a better year. He's up by 5 points to second place. You're looking at Brett, 21 goals against to the next place.
Yeah, all right, so 2 defensemen of the year, but all 5 can play defense. Jeremy?
Here's my rebuttal to the Brett story is that
Brett, you're great.
well-run DMC has the most games where everybody's, putting up at least 1 point. I would say that Tribe Called Quest probably has the most games where players are putting up multiple points, where they're not really having games where one guy's putting up 1 point. They're having games where, okay, this guy had 2, this guy had 6, this guy had 5, this guy had
Hence the
3.
reason of best captain.
But
Is that,
Because
that
of that-
category's over.
I feel like they said, if you replace Brett with a different
Good
goalie,
point, though.
the offensive chemistry of that team is going to win games for them, regardless of who's backstopping them. Brett is having a great season, and like I said, this is his season. The Goalie of the Year award at this point is his to lose.
Yeah. His.
But Joe Gant at this point, and I want to say that when he won it, he kind of was like, oh yeah, thanks for these guys
Zach
for
not showing
playing.
up and Paul not being able to win it.
He knows that those guys are in the league. He knows that those guys are eligible to win that award, and he's still going out there and he still wants that award and he wants to win it. And I feel like Bob said and like John said, sure, John Chatterton has a great season. He has 32 goals this season. John, when's the last season you had 32 goals?
Never.
All right.
Not true.
Yeah. When I was
In a
on your
season.
team, I had less than 32.
All right. Pete's going to look it up while he's going to fact check while Jeremy's
Is it my
talking.
turn? I was kidding.
So like you said, that when that guy starts taking the pressure off your number 2 or your number 3, they have great seasons. Great seasons. They can put up numbers like that. John, when's the next season you're gonna have 32 goals?
Next season.
Oh shit!
I'm coming for you,
There
Joe.
you have it. But like I said, my pick is for Joe Gant.
John, what do you think?
The Brett Siebert storyline, and if you asked, I think we had a conversation in the parking lot 2 or 3 weeks ago. Like
Whoa.
Brett's number
Gloves
1.
off.
He's way to go. He's
in there?
he's getting it, and it's a good story. We'll see what happens this week, but I don't see him taking the MVP. It's a Joe and Paul race.
Yeah, Paul. I mean, we haven't talked about Paul at all. I mean, he's playing with 2 guys that are the lowest in points per game with Brad and Pete,
Nobody's
and both
really
of them have
saying.
less than 1 goal per game.
Zach is there.
I was going to mention Paul. He was going to be my pick.
Hey, I didn't pick anybody yet.
Never
Oh, you
mind.
didn't? Oh, what the hell,
Say
man?
Zach hasn't really been brought up either.
But Paul has been also tied for the most
Zach
goals with
another
53.
Zach has some people, like, how many goals does Brian have? And Ramsey won them the game last week.
Yeah,
So-
that's my problem with Zach is that Ramsey's been the difference in every game they've won.
It's going to come down to Joe and Paul, and it's coming down to this week, Joe. So, score some goals.
Joe,
You want that
we're looking at
MVP, but you go take it this
Yeah,
week.
yeah, Joe, I'm not even going to show up. John's not even going to show up. You're going to win.
Let's talk about Pete Lundstedt, too. Nobody's mentioning him. He's kicking ass on his team.
Yeah, he wasn't
but I'm not up
nominated.
Yeah, well, I'm nominating him right now.
Okay,
but
well,
he's,
reason to nominate
he's not
me.
winning it, but let's talk about
Well,
him.
you're
Yeah,
wrong.
there's no reason to nominate me. My team has
But
freaking
that's
won
what
a
we're doing, we're doing
five
egregious
losses.
shit.
Egregious
I'm
shit.
nominating
If you took
myself
yourself off of
because-
that team, I mean, I
Yeah,
guess you're
but
not
yeah,
nominating.
if you take me and you put like Zach on there, or you put Joe on there, it's a completely
How many
different
goals
team.
do you have right now?
I have a lot.
I'm
A
gonna
lot of
say
goals.
I'm nominating
I think
myself
he's-
for MVP for all my motivation with my picks all season for other teams.
All right, Conco, what do you think?
All right. There's a number of different ways you can look at this. Replacing guys to see if they would make a difference on other teams. With Brett, he's played awesome. He's putting up numbers that nobody is touching. How much of that is a factor to his defense and everything? It's tough to say. With Joe, God damn, that hair looks so good.
It does.
And
That's really awesome.
So good.
he's putting up big time points, but I think Paul is making the biggest difference on his team. I mean, come on, Zach.
Number one pick overall.
Yeah, Zach.
I don't.
Zach and Joe aren't making that much of a difference on that team. No
Look
offense
at
to
the
the rest of
record.
his team,
I
Look
disagree
at their
with
record,
Joe.
though.
And Zach.
but look
And
at
the
this
only other
hot
thing is,
streak
too,
that
is
he's
that-
been on too.
If you're looking at his team for the biggest difference, there's been games where Tim Scott's the MVP.
Yeah.
Why aren't we
Yeah,
talking
I know.
about Tim Scott being the MVP? But I'm still saying it's close between Paul and Joe.
All right, so put
Joe scored some goals.
Put Joe on Furious 5, Paul on Run DMC, and Zach on Wu Tang Clan.
I don't even follow what.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to look at these.
Joe Gant for president.
Yeah, Joe Grant.
I would say that the fact that for Paul Paradine, his biggest help is the fact that they had Tim Scott backstopping that team, because Paul can just go do Paul, and if they get caught on an unlucky break, you still have to score on Tim Scott. I would say that Tim Scott is the MVP of Furious 5.
Yeah, but
Paul-
not every
Paul
game.
played-
There was
well-
like 3 in a row.
Yeah.
But then there are other games where
I would
Paul
say
does have to
Paul
take
plays
over.
great defense when he's back on defense, but he's also known to kind of pull a Bamer and cheat up a little bit on offense and be on the other side of the half court line.
Given the
Yeah, but
situation.
that doesn't happen a lot though. Paul's main scoring threat is, behind halfway.
See, the three best players on the floor in this league are Joe Gant, Paul Paradine, and Zach. Hands down.
Yep.
It's no question. I've been in the top 3 in scoring every year because I shoot to score. I'm trying to be in the top 3 to try and compete with these guys, where Zach is continuously trying to pass and not shoot as much. Paul is always going to be Paul, and he's always going to try and finish in the top 2. And then Joe is just being Joe. Joe is going to finish in the
Joe's having
number
an
1.
amazing season.
He's incredible. But the fact of the matter is, Brett is the reason that this team is.
I
only
disagree.
lost
I
one.
think you put Tim Scott in that team,
No,
and they
there's
still
no
only
way.
lose one.
And that's,
No
and
way.
that's to counter that point. I think it's the opposite for Furious 5. I think if you take Tim Scott out from Furious 5 and put any other goalie there, then they lose a ton of games.
And that's why I'm not going Paul. I think Paul's having an amazing season. I'm not going Paul. I think Brett is the closest goalie we've ever had to winning MVP. I don't want that to go unstated. He is the closest to being MVP
And
for
again-
me. But Joe Gant, I think, is the most valuable player to his team.
If you
that
put
we
Zach
have.
on that team, where are you guys?
Well,
Same
What
spot.
about-
Same
what
spot.
What about Paul's team though? If you put Zach or Joe on that
No,
team,
yeah, absolutely. If you put Zach or Joe on that team is. There's no way that you guys
I don't
are
know.
exactly where
I
they
think
are.
Zach
but the fact of the matter is,
distributes.
what are you guys? 5 and
but-
4?
yeah, but
They're 5 and 4.
Zach's going to.
You're looking at 2
distribute
teams. You're looking at 2 teams. Joe Gant has lost 2 games, right? You guys have
Yep.
lost 2 games.
Yes.
Okay.
And I would
Where's
say those
Brett?
are probably
Where's
his
Brett?
worst
Brett's
games.
only lost 1 game. So
let's
you're
see
only,
what happens at the end of week 10.
Sure. So you're looking at 2 teams that have only lost 2 games. That the fact of the matter, it's coming down to Gant or Brett, hands down. Paul and Zach are not in this. They have played great seasons. I think they're most valuable to their teams. But Brett and Gant are the reasons that their team are so
I'll
good.
agree with that. I'll agree.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I
Sure.
understand that their
Agree to
defense is
disagree.
great in front of them, but the fact of the matter is Brett is going to be the reason that this team is going
And,
to
and, and the
Here's-
reason
here's
he has
where-
2 defensemen of the season
But the other
candidates
thing
on
about
his
it-
team, which is why he won't win MVP.
And even if there's 2 defensemen on the team, every single person on the team hustles.
Not only that, but
Yeah.
here's what we're not thinking about. Week 1, Pat Kuzma had 6 goals.
Yeah.
Week 2, John Strachan had 7 goals. Week 3, John Strachan had 6 goals. Week
But
4,
that doesn't take away from the fact that they have the lowest amount of goals against.
Yeah,
but
that's
still,
21 goals against.
any other
Difference.
goalie, the fact that you're getting production from your 3rd and 4th rounders, you're going to be okay.
And you got Jeff Burge, who I think is going to win defenseman of the season, in front of you.
And again, Brett's not counted at all. We're 5 guys out of a
Yeah.
league that's going to vote. Brett still could win MVP.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, and this is just us,
Vote for him.
arguing because it's
Goalie
entertaining.
Brett wants
But-
to break up the big scores. He's taking individual $27 donations.
Feel the burn.
Brett. Feel the Brett.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to our awards preview. I hope you found our banter entertaining and maybe even insightful. Probably not insightful, but at least entertaining. But yeah, you guys have all your own opinions. We're gonna have the nominations out there, but it's based on the regular season. So after Week 10 has concluded, go ahead and vote
For Brett.
And we'll see you on Wednesday. Is it Wednesday yet?
Vote for Brett.